Engines are saying that this is busted. Down a full exchange exchange for a pawn. Well, not even a pawn. It's a full exchange in this position, and never going to get back real compensation. His pawns on the queen side look awful. They're going to drop like flies, and Wesley is in a completely lost position. This would be a terrific start for the former world champion Kasparov.
That's right. So if we play bishop takes e5, Gary can simply capture with the queen, and that's the big problem. If pawn takes, we get a lot of counterplay because our rook on f2 is pinned. We can maybe play bishop to e4.
Exactly.
But no, this is
lost. The Indians are giving this one as done. Just no real moves. He is taking on e5.
Queen takes e5.
And queen takes
dominant retort.
That's right. Queen takes e5, and then we have to figure out some way to at least try to win that pawn back on d5.
He's taking some time, by the way, in this position as Kasparov, but queen takes is the only move to maintain his advantage, actually. Pawn takes allows bishop to b7, and problems start with the counterplay.
On the long diagonal.
So Gary, of course, queen takes being the right move, and he has played it.
And Wesley trying desperately to get some counterplay with the move rook d8.
That came really fast.
Well, d6 though,
we could play, yeah.
D6 is the Indians' first move. D6 looks strong, but Gary has instead played rook to d1. Not the top move, but still winning.
But it is Blitz, so we
No, I like this.
Still winning. Still winning. No, it's not.
But he's played another way to try to exchange queens. That's the thing. A lot of the tactics we see here are trading queens but losing a pawn from queen to c4 to d6. It's the exact same idea. Queen d4, because then all of your pawns are just going to drop off the board. So very thematic ideas here.
Interesting. Wesley, after queen a5, inviting the move rook a1 by Gary. Gary instead plays rook d2, and Gary's idea is very simple. He just basically, the rook on f2 is not working. He needs to bring that rook back to the e file, maybe play a move like h3, king g2 h3.
But rook a1 looked so good.
It did.
But rook e8 by Wesley, trying to get a little counterplay on the back rank, simply king g2, no worries.
Nice.
You don't have to worry about the back rank if your king's on the second rank.
True that.
So,
and h3, get that bishop out of there. Give your king some extra squares. And you know me, I love grabbing pawns. That a7 pawn looks delicious one day.
But the clock times now, guys, the clock times Gary, though he's up, he hasn't figured out exactly how to win yet. He has played the move h3, bishop back to f5, now g4.
Excellent move, excellent move. Get that bishop out of the way. By the way,
because we would have probably played queen to d7 to get a tiny bit of counterplay.
On
Stick
the light
bishop on h3.
You're
Maybe rook one could be annoying at some point. This looks harder. I mean, for an amateur, like playing this and allowing bishop b4, it looks uglier, but actually the
king is going to be very safe. And by the way, having booted the bishop, two options now for white. d5, d6 is in the position, so you can play queen d5 and trade queens, as well as f5 and f6. And by the way, there's a passed pawn on the f file. Ooh.
c5, a little.
Queen f6, posting up, and it really looks killing now. d6. D6.
Just going for it. Is there any counterplay here for?
Super powerful move.
It's a crushing position in f5, blasting through. What a dominant performance by Kasparov as f5 lands on the board. He's going to open up the whole king side. This is just crushing.
Epic. Checkmating.
I mean, if c3 just takes on g6, should be winning.
Exactly.
Takes d2, queen f7, and queen h7 checkmate.
It's a forced mate.
By the way, Caruana is up a pawn in the other position as they're playing quickly. Not as sharp a position right now, but Caruana is up a pawn. But it's all about this game as Gary is showing his stuff, coming out the gates quickly. Look at this position.
Queen e7 check. Queen takes f8. Queen e7. Queen takes f8 check. A huge threat in the position. I think it's going to be resigns, guys. I really do.
This is just...
There's nothing to do. And look at Gary grab the queen.
Yeah.
Grab the queen. He said, this one will be on the board any second.
Exactly.
This is just completely busting. Also, isn't d8 queens just a threat as well? Queen moving over to c5.
No, I think queen e7 check is the dominant threat in the position.
And he's just played queen d6. Queen d6 with all the threats. Trade queens and also sacrifice on f8. This is resignable. Only 10 seconds left. Wesley will probably resign on this move.
Yes,
and he has done so.
Bravo,
and there
Gary.
is Gary. Gary getting up from the board. First game, big victory for Gary.
At it, and it looks as though Hikaru got some counterplay and now has a pawn on d7. He's down a pawn, but he's looking for counterplay, and look at Fabi whip out the move E3 to change the nature of the game.
Huge move, E3, super strong. Fabi is playing this beautifully.
And a sacrifice, and now he's going to play F2, and I mean a trade, excuse me, and then he's going to play F2.
Force Queen F1.
Looks like he's going to force Queen F1, but this Rook F4,
Rook F4
that could happen any second. Will he take the pawn on D? Well, he's giving his pawn back. No, he's had to play Queen E7 instead. Queen E7 threatening the E3 pawn.
E7.
F2 didn't quite make the mark.
Maurice, I think his plan had been F2 all along, miscalculated something, came up with Queen E7 instead.
And 28 seconds. Look at the time, guy. Look at the time. Rook back, and now he played F2.
Okay, what's the big difference now?
You don't have any Rook F4s, and we've got Queen E4 in the position.
Right. Well put. Well said.
Queen went to
F5?
F5.
Really? So Rook F8.
Rook F8, he sacrifices.
Rook
Queen
F8,
takes F8.
Queen takes F8.
Doesn't work.
And we make a queen as well.
Exactly. Rook F8 is a very... And he's played it.
And
he's blundered.
Queen takes the shocker. He thought king takes, but queen takes now. And a second queen will appear on the board.
Oh, Hikaru blundered.
And he's brought his rook back now.
But it's too late. Queen D8. And
Queen D8 is it the only move, because he'll play King G2 and take the pawn, and the queen will be stuck on the D8 square temporarily. Only 9 seconds left for Fabi. He needs to hurry up. Look at Hikaru fighting back. How do you win this position as black? What do you do? He's starting to create a pass pawn.
Yeah.
He's starting to create a pass pawn. There he goes.
No, he should put his king on E7, create a pass pawn on the king side, be able to deliver a queen check so you can park your king over.
Take a look. He's moving back and forth right now.
Oh no!
And look at this. He has only 5 seconds left, and he has to play instantly. There goes the pass pawn. The king now curtailing that pawn on that square, and now Fabi has to figure out another plan. And here comes the e pawn fighting back. Is Naka.
That's right. And here we go. Just 3 seconds.
And now suddenly he's figured it out. He's figured out a way to get a king and pawn ending, but this is not winning. This is a maximum draw for black.
I think he miscalculated. White's actually.
And now white is the one who's winning. What a turnaround! And Naka's staying ahead on the clock. And this is lost.
Horrible.
This is lost. He went from winning to losing, and now Fabi has to resign.
Wow!
Amazing play by Naka. What a save!
Big turnaround there. And I think that a lot of that, unfortunately for Fabi, is that he's not used to the delay. Because in an increment situation,
on C1, Rook takes
a very long think, a very carefully executed trade. I don't think Gary is pleased with the outcome from the opening, the position he has.
But he played great moves.
He's got to get counterplay here. So he's played the move knight on e to d5. He needs to get some energy for those pieces.
But okay, offering pawn on a7,
and it's good. It's a good offer. He's not going to be much worse off because of this trade on a7. According to the engines, just a smidgen of an advantage for white in that line.
How do you go? Bishop a7, rook a8, bishop f2.
Bishop f2, why can't we take a knight? We have knight g8, right? So, I mean, not pretty, but I mean, I get my pawn back.
Nakamura is stopping to think now.
Is that no good? Bishop a7, rook a8, bishop f2, rook takes a2, rook c8 check, knight g8.
Right, and then I got an issue, so I'll go knight g3. He just played bishop f2.
There were no real threats there. Bishop takes on a7 did not lead anywhere at check. Actually, you didn't even have to take immediately on... You didn't have to play rook a8. You could just take on e4 and tie him down to the e-pawn.
By the way,
Gary now, whoa, didn't he let go? He did let go.
I think he did.
I think he did. He let go.
And that allows the move bishop c5.
No, but it's touch. It's not. It's touch move, clearly, but it's not touch release.
But did he let it go?
Yes. But in Blitz, you're allowed, it's touch clock. So long as you move the but did he play? No, he's played knight.
Played knight f4
you see the board, the DGT boards guys have recorded the move knight before, and there's going to be an issue now, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Because
so we're going to have to look at the main board.
Exactly.
Because knight b4 would lose to bishop c5.
Correct.
And then if you try knight d3, we have bishop takes f8, knight takes c1, bishop takes
c7. Well, no, the DGT board is updated. My DGT board is currently showing the actual position.
It's auto-corrected. Auto-corrected. Brilliant. I was afraid that it was going to go into a freeze.
But that moment, you're saying when he played knight before let go, you're allowed to let go?
You're allowed to let go. It's when you press your clock, your turn is done in Blitz.
When does this rule come into effect? I thought it was when you let go, the move is over.
No. In classical chess, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm quite certain you let go. We'll do a replay at the end of the game.
Rules
What's happening in the other?
When we're done.
And the other game.
The other game right now. Well, Caruana is completely winning, and we will jump to that critical moment in this game because he has dominance right now in the position. Does Caruana, according to the engines, if he finds the simple move bishop to d2 guarding his pawn, then he will win the game. He's instead played somewhat differently in that position. But let's get back to the other ending. We'll recap that one when we get to it.
Okay. And the players are in a rook and bishop versus rook and bishop.
And Caruana did win his game, so he is through with a win against Wesley So, getting the point. Let's get to this position, though, on the board as they are blitzing down.
What about that bishop takes a7? And he's played it. He's taken and defended the bishop with rook c7. Rook came to e8. Rook dropped back to protect the a-pawn. Now the rook will go back to attack the bishop. I don't think Nakamura wants anything to do with rook a4 allowing a pin, so he's repeated.
And now Gary plays rook e8, also
which is exactly what has happened, Jen. And a draw.
Well, the engine is saying you can have the e-pawn if you go after, if you start pushing with a4, but now rook to c6, hitting the g6 pawn, and he's decided to just grab, and now rook to a4, and that's going to be the a-pawn. And black should be perfectly fine after rook takes on a2. He might lose his h-pawn. He's checking that out. He doesn't want to lose his h-pawn.
But that is going to happen, I believe.
He's patiently decided, no, I'm not giving you the pawn. With that last move, move the king out of there, the rook out of there. Oh, now I can take, and he has. And now after the f-pawn, but it doesn't look as though this will be enough to win, even if he trades rooks in this position. Here comes the king, and now chasing the rook out of there and challenging him to find a way to get an advantage. But he's keeping moving. Nakamura down to 19 seconds. When did that happen?
Boy, you got to keep a track eye on the clock, don't you? I mean, it just sneaks up on you. Bishop f6 looks like a very decent move, and Gary has made that. And I'm sure the players are going to offer a draw now as they're moving.
Frozen at 19 because of the 3-second delay. So as long as he moves quickly, there should be no win here at all. There should be a draw being agreed to any second.
Exactly.
But Gary looking around, seeing whether or not he can make some kind of hay, attacking the bishop on e1. Looks like he's trying to get back door and play the move rook to f8 at some point. He knows he has a time edge on the clock, but now he's backed up to rook c4.
Yeah.
And the thing is now the bishop on f6 attacking h4, creating a balance in the position.
Okay,
correct.
Ready to repeat
Exactly,
moves.
Jen.
Wait a minute. The bishop can go to e5. Well, they've
there
agreed.
It is.
Time for a draw. They're out of there.
Draw. So actually an arrow escape by Gary in a way, because he almost played that move knight b4, which would have been a terrible blunder. He would have been so upset.
Absolutely. Jen, you asked what kind of form Gary Kasparov is in. The big test. You just got an answer.
That's right.
You just got an answer.
A wonderful game there by both players. Beautiful to watch. We got Nakamura against Wesley. So Wesley, we're going to have to see if he gets into better blitz form in this tournament. And Maurice has the highlight from the Caruana So game.
Yes, they have this quiet position, quiet looking at g4. You go from one quiet position to something that just simply explodes. The threat of g5, just about unstoppable. He moved his king. Not necessarily the best choice, but what was he to do? Takes, and now this knight passive as ever back here. The move bishop takes on f7, and that was all she wrote in this position because of the queen h5 problem. If knight takes, queen check, knight back, bishop here, and that would have been all she wrote. So in this position, after this, the knight having to drop back bishop f7, just a critical pawn down, he played queen e7. He kept his pawn with this move, and after check, just relaxing. And then this move, queen h3 check, knight h5, queen to c8, bam, mate in one coming. You have to throw your queen in the way, and that was it. So that is how he won that game. Fabiano bravely going forward with the move g4, finding just the right time.
Let's take a look and note that.
And here we go, right?
But he did not
He released it.
Without
I mean,
question.
No question. He almost hit the clock.
Question. But he almost hit the clock even. And that rewind, here we go. Once again. He almost hit the clock.
He actually made the clock
look at Hikaru's face right there.
He's laughing.
A little sheepish.
I think he's saying, like, Hikaru's saying, man, if he's going to play a move like...
Is he aware of the clock at all? And he has played the move, but he's playing
Queen
all these
C3
logical...
Instantly played, by the way. Instantly played by Gary. Gary, no hesitation about defending the E5 pawn whatsoever.
And Queen to C6, attacking the bishop. And it's Gary's turn now as his bishop is hanging. What to do? He doesn't want to trade down by playing bishop takes B6.
Bishop E7, bishop F6 makes a lot of sense.
Play bishop to B4.
Bishop B4.
Got to keep that bishop on.
I thought he was going to play bishop B2, bishop A3. Sorry.
And whoa, he's taking on G2.
Whoa.
That didn't feel right.
It sure
but the Indians are
doesn't.
saying it's still within the boundaries of acceptability right now. Bishop G2. And Gary, though, flustered seeing his pawn go off the board, needing a move, and he has dropped low on time, and he's going to have to play quickly. Look at that E-pawn gallop down the board.
And he was surprised.
But Fabi with some counterplay immediately with the move F4.
No question about it.
Gary's got to change his tempo right now. And whoa, he's sacrificing his rook for the rook on D8.
17 seconds for Gary Kasparov, 22 seconds for Fabiano. Down to 11. Look at the clock. You can see it on the webcam.
And rooks are leaving the board now. Gary just...
And he had to promote the pawn. It took him a second or two to get that queen on the board.
Because you got to make the queen. You got to put the queen on
illegal
first.
Move
That's
otherwise. Right. And queen takes E3 has been played.
Massive
And queen takes A2. Oh my goodness. Gary's king is more vulnerable than Fabiano.
But this position is very equal.
Bishop E7 check.
Mating ideas for Gary. Fabiano may be forced to take a...
But now we have bishop C. We have bishop C3 and bishop F6.
What was bishop C3?
Bishop C3 and bishop F6. Bishop G5.
There's queen D7.
And now Gary just whipping off a pawn. He's now up, and they're blitzing on the moves. Looks like it should be some kind of repet. Here's the knight showing up to help defend. It's hard to believe he'll lose this position, but Fabi with only a few seconds on his clock, he's got to hurry up. The king taking the pawn, and now the knight trapping the king over there. Look at the threat of knight B3, and Gary now trading queens quickly, and the pawn dropping, and this game is drawn. They've agreed to a draw.
Whoa.
Amazing.
Oh, look at the sense of relief.
Man, I'm too old for this. These guys, young guys.
Look at his eyes. They were wide open like... Do you believe what I just did? That was amazing.
No, I'm the perfect age for this. Let's see, did bishop C3 win? You were going over a line.
Who knows?
I'm catching my breath. Jennifer, you're asking me a question like that.
After queen D7, bishop C3. You have queen D7 and king C8, I say.
Well, it's not that clear. Maybe bishop C3 was a stronger choice. Hold on.
But I didn't see queen D7, so I thought it won instantly. But yeah, queen D7, the idea...
I think it would have basically transposed into something...
similar to the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, it did not win according to the Indians. But
okay, boy.
Gary Kasparov is the only player coming out of that round undefeated. The only player. So we could see the results of that particular round, and it is Gary Kasparov leading after the first round, 2 points for a win and 2 draws, followed by Fabiano Caruana and Hikaru Nakamura at 1.5, and Wesley So winning his game very nicely with a tactical trick against Hikaru Nakamura. Who would have thought that Gary Kasparov coming out of, still in retirement, excuse me, but just coming out to play some exhibition chess and showing that he...
Of protecting against knight G5, as well as simultaneously hitting this pawn on D4. The knight coming to E6 will be a useful defender as well as an aggressive force against the pawn on D4.
And rook to D2 by Wesley, giving up all the demonstrations he had. It looked like he lost maybe 2 or 3 moves in his last couple of moves, putting his rook from B2 to D2 only as his queen was on E3 before. Meantime, Kasparov has consolidated on the queen side. The problem is he's taking too long to figure out his advantage. He is now at 138 and counting down, while Wesley is at 311. We have not seen this disparity in any of the games. And Kasparov now nervous, bouncing back and forth. And Wesley as cool as a cucumber right there, trying not to move, hoping that Gary continues to think. 121 and counting down. Gary needs a move.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, Gary wants to try to create play on that D pawn, but he is
just
worried
reached for
about
his
this
rook.
bishop A3, rook C1 idea. So maybe rook D8.
A little bit indecisive decision-making there by Gary as he really goes down. 2 minutes on the clock, and it's this move, bishop A3, has been played.
Threatening rook C1.
Rook C1.
A waste of time. That last few moves were total waste of time. And now Kasparov, despite being up a pawn, is now in a bit of trouble. He's played the move knight to B5. Actually, he's found a great move, knight to B5. That one, attacking the pawn on D2. The Indians did not like, by the way, the move bishop to A3, precisely because of this response. Gary has found it, but 1 minute and 3 seconds left. Will he be able to giddy up so that he can really prove himself here? Wesley's forced to play E5, apparently.
Bishop B2.
He's actually played back. So the idea there is that after bishop E7, you just have rook D7?
Yes.
And then next move, you take on D4, and
precisely,
all your pieces are flooding into the game. So tricky to see.
You're in great form today. What's going on? Are you a Blitz player?
Wesley has 2:45 to Gary's 53 seconds. Wesley is way ahead on the clock. And he is defending admirably in this position. And now the knight has leapt into C3.
Whoa, what's going on? Guys, what's going on? Gary Kasparov just put his knight in an obvious pin.
And he's dead.
An obvious pin.
Rook to C1, and Kasparov knows it. He is busted after this move.
Oh,
he's about to drop a piece,
goodness.
and he's going red. And his time is ticking down.
It's over.
It is over.
Maybe
He's going to lose a piece.
I wonder if he hallucinated knight E2,
of course.
queen E2, queen C1 or something. I don't know. Some kind of weird hallucination.
He
Nothing to do.
hallucinated that rook C1 was for some reason being answered by knight E2. He just forgot that the bishop.
There it is. Resignation on his part.
Okay, this is going to happen. I will predict that there will be a horrifying blunder by each and every player in this event, and we just saw one by
Let's
Gary
take a look
Kasparov.
at the other game, though, where Nakamura is in deep trouble against Caruana as Wesley So picks up another point, 2 in a row for him. Nakamura being dominated by White's pieces in this game. Complete spatial control by Caruana and ahead on the clock as well. Let's just add that he's down a pawn on top of all of that.
And
looks like,
way,
well, no, he's not down a pawn yet. My apologies. He's still just down space, and he's played the move queen to H5.
To stop the threat of knight takes E6. I know what you're saying about that spatial domination, but in Blitz chess, it's the material. You want to have a material domination, not just an advantage of the space. Nice play, though, I have to say. KG, check this out. This move, rook F4, setting up for a G4.
And he played H6, and G4 is in the position. G4 is a strong move. And
G4 we can play queen H. We can't play queen H4 because of knight F3 or something?
Precisely.
Yeah,
Jen.
knight F3.
G4 is a big move. You see him and looking over on that side of the board. He wants to play it, and he's played it. And he has played it. Now Nakamura.
Hikaru's walk right into this fork of the pawn.
Absolutely. Another time his queen on H5. He just lost his queen on H5 to Wesley So, and now his queen on H5 causing him trouble, and he's taken on H4. Knight F3 is just crushing.
And has been played.
And that's
Knight F3 on the board, queen to H3.
And take that knight. Give me your knight, baby.
That's right. This is Nakamura getting into trouble with his queen, right?
Funny position.
Time
Very
after
similar.
time. Oh my goodness! I really
second time around. But look at Fabi's time. He's got to make a move. 50 seconds and ticking down. He's not confidently grabbing this knight on the F5 square. Knight E1 is another move as well. Maybe he's looking at this technically, but finally he has taken what would have been a very natural move. Another move, G5 in the sacrifice. He had calculated this sacrifice in the position.
And that's
Knight takes G5. Oh my goodness.
It's a crushing line. He found this sequence, a crushing line, and now Naka in trouble. But can he perform the trickery he did in game 1 to come back and save himself? That's going to be the big question right now.
The resourceful Hikaru Nakamura.
So wait, why is this so great?
If you take on G5,
we just play rook G4 or something?
No, we play F6.
Oh, just
we play
F6. Oh,
and that dominating pawn.
Yeah.
And then this G pawn is going to be weak. He'll slide his rook over to G4. And
brilliant. F6 is a great in-between move.
Oh, isn't it?
After we take an F4, not only do we win the rook back, but we also get the beautiful fork.
Now rook G7 on the board. Rook G7 on the board.
And it has been played. The line. Whoa, what has been played?
Rook G7 was played. Rook G7, F6, and rook g5 was played in the game. And Fabi,
an update. Yeah.
And let's get back to this game. Rook takes king moves over to f1, and we have this position.
Ooh, big move, a5, securing that delicious outpost on c5.
Oh, positional masterpiece right now, master class. Look at
over.
this position. But Fabio also ahead on the clock, making life easier as he's just completely dominating this position.
Strategic masterpiece going on here.
And he's ripped off the pawn on a6, brought his knight back. Now, Naka's only hope is the h-pawn. Will it go anywhere? But there goes an a6 pawn galloping down the board as the rook has come over trying to trade itself in the game.
I don't see the defense whatsoever. Maurice.
Look at that pawn. Is now on a7. Rook a1. Now the rook has to go over and stop that. He is
and there it is.
Fabi knocking off Nakamura.
Whoa.
The leaderboard is shaking up.
Big
after
time.
That last round. Everybody winning, everybody losing.
And
wow.
Wesley
I think we're all like even now because Wesley's got 2.
Wesley came back with that huge victory over the tournament leader.
Fabi must be leading now. No, Fabi should have 2.5
Fabi should be
Let's
leading,
take a look at the leaderboard.
Very tight at the leaderboard with a huge blunder and a beautifully played Grunfeld. Oh, there we go. That's
there
not
you
like a punch to the face.
That's going to be a gift. That's going to be an internet meme.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gary.
I know.
We love you, but that's got to be an internet meme.
That was a Mike Tyson wake up.
You could not believe he had a winning position.
And
but
look at our scoreboard.
Let's look at our scoreboard indeed. Fabiano Caruana now leading by interesting. Well, so you want to play good moves.
That's exactly what Maurice is saying. It's such an interesting game. The reason why the players are taking 6.5 minutes out of their 10, because that's what
unreal. Naka's used 2 minutes for the last 2 moves.
Remarkable.
That's just unbelievable for it. But guess what? He is Hikaru Nakamura. He is a bullet player. He will blitz out 40 moves in a minute. I mean, the guy is that quick. So we'll see. But will it be good moves as he is now being pressured by Kasparov?
And by the way, Gary preserved his bishop with the move bishop c2.
Right.
a6, kicking back the knight. Knight quickly jumped back to d4, covering the f5 square.
C5.
And c5, a very, very big strategic move. Look at that. Look at that outpost on d5. It's just begging for the white knight to show up.
That's right.
D5.
Very tricky position.
But now Nakamura getting a strong piece of his own. Knight c4 forcing the queen back to c1, and Gary has played that.
Exactly.
But how does Nakamura continue to make use of that knight on c4? Because b3 could be played next.
Well, indeed, f5 is almost you got to play f5.
Play the Kasparov-like move versus Kasparov.
Exactly.
F5 on the board.
Otherwise, knight f4, knight d5 is a strategic hammer lock.
b3 chasing the knight, followed by bringing the queen back into the game would be natural. Both sides are basically at a minute and a half in this very dynamic position.
Woo.
Crazy chess at work right now in this game.
Knight back to b6. The f-pawn still can't be touched because of the knight hanging on e2.
Exactly.
And very quickly, while he pushes his pawn, if we could just jump to the other position, this one is on fire.
Oh my goodness.
Absolute chaos on this board. Look at those black pawns steaming down the board and just fearlessly throwing the pawns forward. It's Fabiano Caruana with an awesome position, just simply dominating Wesley So right now. The knight on c7 looks ridiculous. And in the meantime, all of Black's pieces are charging up the board with a vicious attacking possibilities for him. Meantime, Kasparov in the other game has cemented a knight on the e4 square after a trade, and this has to be a bit better for White right now.
Absolutely. I mean, that move c7, c5 was a big strategic decision. I don't know if Hikaru judged it correctly, but at the moment, this knight on b6 a little bit out of play, and this knight on e4 is a monster.
Well, he did his best, but he probably missed the knight c4, queen c1, f5, that he wasn't getting quite as much play as he desired.
Yeah, it's very easy to slip there, Jen, in that position.
Too late for that now. Gary with 111, Hikaru with 52 seconds and counting down. And what to do? He has to play d5, it looks like.
Otherwise, knight c3, keeping that pawn backward on d6, and don't let a4, a5 show up on the board.
And d5 might have been met by knight c3, actually. I'm not sure that he's not losing a pawn in that position. He has to back up.
So he just played Queen F8 instead, and where is he trying to get counterplay here, guys?
I'm not sure.
D5 has to be his thought.
Knight takes D6. Let me.
And Knight G5 has been played.
But Knight G5 instead, with the trying to get yourself into that E6 square.
And that move is really the move that the Indians like. Knight takes D6 was a little bit tricky, but this move, Knight to G5, and positional chess, controlling the game. Nakamura down to 24 seconds.
Unbelievable.
Sparrow with more than twice as much time. Now a trade and an offer for another trade.
We could play Queen D6 in that position, no?
No, this is a beautiful.
Queen A1 is hanging. A1's hanging, so you have to start with Rook E1.
And it's a back-ranked mate.
Queen G5, Queen E8 is mate.
That Knight on B6 is the problem, and only 14 seconds left for Nakamura against 58 seconds by Kasparov. Kasparov way ahead on the clock.
And Knight D7,
he feels it.
But don't we have Queen E8 check, and then after Knight F8, Knight E6? No, there's a mate still hanging.
There's a mate still hanging.
So we need to make look. So with H4.
No, start with Queen E8 check, Knight F8, what you were saying,
H4.
and then H3 or H4, make your luft.
That looks
and that
good.
Knight on F8 is horrible.
And we're
there it is.
And he's played it.
Check, Knight back, and now he just needs to not hang mate on the back row. He sees it.
Why not H4?
I was afraid of H6, and the Knight would be forced to read. So H3. And Knight F7 check, big threat in the position.
And he's chased
King
out
G8.
now.
Then look at Knight E4, guys.
Knight E4
Gary
played.
Kasparov playing a masterpiece here.
No, the only problem is that there are some perpetuals against White's king.
And he's played Queen E7. He doesn't believe him.
Queen E7, not caring about the ideas.
No, there's no check. And look at Hikaru.
And here he goes with his king marching towards the center of the board.
There's no perpetual.
It looks like there is no perpet. Queen B2, king up, and that's done.
Exactly.
H5
and now
trying to tickle him
H5.
with H4 at some point.
I don't believe it.
And
Knight
neither
takes
does
D6.
Gary.
Gary
Well,
says,
H4 has
show
happened.
me.
You can't take with the king. There's Knight G6 in the position.
But Queen takes H4.
Yes.
Queen takes H4 is a two-pawn advantage.
Gary Kasparov ahead by 2 pawns and 11 seconds on the clock in desperation by Naka now trying to keep things complicated.
And look at this beautiful centralizing move. Queen E4, Maurice.
Queen F6 being played. 1 second left for Hikaru. The times are not exactly accurate, but check. And now Gary's got it all under control. There's a mate threat. And no, there isn't. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Move the knight. We're seeing the clock times 3 seconds, 11 seconds for Gary. A trade of queens. A trade of queens.
It's
Gary's
over.
up. It's over.
There we
Gary
go. Wow.
Kasparov against the favorite, the beast.
Look at Gary
Hikaru Nakamura.
flexing as he walked away.
He's saying, I can teach these youngsters a thing or two.
And
My
Naka losing
goodness.
2 in a row.
And Nakamura now solidifying his position in the basement. But wait, the other game's not over.
Absolutely.
Let's take
and
a quick
it
look.
looks like a piece up, a bishop for a pawn.
So Fabi's going to maintain the lead.
That's a weird ending.
That is. It's not easy to assess right away. Bravely pushing his pawn forward.
I'm sure it's got to be
Oh, it's
won.
over now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just got to be
Now
a win.
it's over. Now it's over because he can just bring his king. You can't force the G4 move.
Because we always have F4.
Exactly. We meet. I mean, White wants to trade a pawn.
Wait a minute. They just danced with kings all around just a second ago.
It's a triangulation idea. It didn't work, and Fabi is moving his bishop back and forth.
But he's not.
But he hasn't made progress.
He hasn't made any progress in the last few moves. Then there he goes again. He's not getting any time extra, so he has to figure out how to win this position, and he doesn't see any way to win.
Yeah.
And the engines are now saying the position is actually drawn, that he has thrown away the win, and he has no way to win easily anymore. It's going to require a blunder.
F4 was a big threat. King F4 and G4.
And there he goes again.
It's a draw. It's a dead
It's a
draw.
draw. It's been a draw. It's definitely a draw. There's no way to win this position. And he's calling threefold repetition. He's calling a threefold repetition. I think he's right. I think he's right that this position has occurred 3 times. I think he is right.
And we will get a confirmation on that. Let me see.
What a fascinating endgame fortress. I've never seen one like this before, Yaz.
And now with the bishop on H1.
What a weird one.
Yeah, usually the bishop's on C6 or something like that. And there's international arbiter Tony Rich checking with the monitors that that 3-time repetition claim is correct.
The engines are saying the mistake was F5, pushing the pawn at all. By
he
pushing
had
the pawn,
pawn as an automatic, as Maurice was saying. But you know, one thing pulls another. It's like a needle and a thread. First the move's h6, then came g5. Now Gary's weakening his king further with the move f5, but he had to stop knight e4. And a lot of weaknesses appearing in Black's position, but can Fabi take advantage of it?
And that's right, Rook D1, Queen C7 on the board.
We've been waiting for some time for this move, Rook D1.
This has the features.
Now F4 is the idea, so he's trading things off with Knight D4.
Very strong move, by the way.
Bishop D4, because then Black's just left with those weaknesses in the end.
Exactly, Jenna. Exactly.
The other game is pretty balanced
E5,
right now.
E5, we can meet with Bishop C5, right?
That was the automatic, and now the bishop can post up dramatically on d6, but he can also use the d6 square to enter with his rook. Rook d6 or bishop d6. Bishop d6 was his choice, and a decent one at that.
Queen f7 quickly played by Gary.
You know, but it's strange with this pawn on g5, and White has not undermined this pawn. He hasn't played h4, so suddenly Black's king is actually pretty safe.
Black's happy right now. Fabi spent all that time thinking about the position, and now they're just saying Black is only slightly worse in the position. And Gary, despite all that thought, now Gary is the one looking for some initiative after c5,
not
e4.
Not backing down one bit.
The inch is like Black. The interesting that now Black is the one who's ahead. Gary turning the game around, and look at him standing stalwart like a bull. And Fabi, just having frittered away all his time advantage, is now going way behind on the clock. He's just got outplayed completely.
Yeah.
His knight, the big problem for him is knight on c3 is no bueno. I mean, what are we doing with that knight?
Exactly. What are we doing with that knight?
Should we relocate it maybe to d4?
That would make perfect sense.
And that's what Fabi's done. He's played knight e2. That principle of the worst piece. The knight not going to d5 or b5. Bishop a6 on the board.
Bishop a6 on the board. I was about to say bishop e6. And
but he's headed to the d3 square with that bishop, and it's posted into the d3 square right now. That bishop super strong on d3, and Gary knows he has the edge here. This is the other game. Look at that bishop, queen a4 instantly played.
We have to, because we got to guard d4.
Yes.
And the pawn on a2 as well. So what does Gary do now? The pawn on c6 at the moment is hanging for Black.
I'd rip that knight off on d4.
Instead, he's played charged ahead with f4.
Whoa.
Gary not caring about measly pawns.
No.
He's trying to attack.
And look at this. Maurice, f3.
f3 has been played. Let's update that board.
Yeah, knight c6, f3, and, you know...
Queen h5 to g4.
We know the principle of attacking on the light squares.
The knight is going back to the b4 square. He's trying to chase the bishop, but the bishop can go even more into White's position. The incursion of this bishop now, a dominating position for Kasparov.
Absolutely, and look at big threat alert, e4, e3, and White's king at mercy of the queen, bishop, and rooks.
C1 played, but you're right, he has. What's he going to do against this idea?
Actually, the engines thought that the best thing was to trade queens as quickly as possible, because e3 now on the board is simply crushing.
We have queen. What happens after queen b3?
And it has been played. There's a rook e6.
Isn't there takes on f2?
There's a takes on f2
bishop
and a bishop d4.
Yeah,
Ooh,
sweet. But
monster move.
He can hide. Can he hide on g3?
That's all on the board, guys. So we're going to find out soon.
What's going on? Is it winning?
No. There's a rook e6 also. So I'm not forced to trade queens.
Gary has traded queens.
And played f2? When did he get in f2?
He's traded queens and he's played f2.
Oh.
Oof.
Oh,
that does the trick.
U.S. champion.
That does the trick.
Under great duress here.
He's busting.
Gary's best game so far in the Blitz.
Gary's had a lot of best games.
Gary's playing some serious chess. Rook now over to h1. Fabi down to only 21 seconds on the clock.
Rook h1. What a lame move. But what else could he do? What is rook e3 check? No, it's king f2. Oh my gosh.
No, but rook e3 check is crushing. King f2, drop the bishop back, and there's all kinds of vicious discoveries. The other rook is planning to come into the game at some point. Rook e2 check. I mean, that is a great move, but will he sacrifice it?
Oh,
he can, of course, win the exchange by just pushing his pawn, but he wants more. 107 left on the clock, and he's in this position. This is one of the problems in Blitz. You want the 100% move. He's in a position where he feels like there's a win. He smells it. He knows there's something here. He's spending his time. Carry with only 22 seconds. While Gary has 53 seconds, he's been thinking for how many? Maybe like 40 seconds right now, and his time is ticking down quickly. He's going to have to make a practical decision at some point.
Exactly. He knows he's got to win. He doesn't want to just play a move like bishop takes b2, picking up pawn, picking up an exchange. He doesn't want to play f1.
And he's finally playing the move he wanted to play the whole time. Will he find bishop b5? No, he played rook to e8 instead after king takes, and now rook a to e8. And the engines are saying that's not as accurate. Perfect defense by Caruana with knight to c6 on the board, expecting to play some kind of king defense after the rook moves. Where to put the rook? He's played rook f3, king to
double check,
e1. F3 double check. We don't get to see that a lot. Allowing that discovery,
but there's bishop d5, 97 check.
We have 97 check, so it's not the end.
Oh my gosh, 97.
Sack of the exchange, followed by
two bishops versus a rook and two pawns.
Beautiful play by Gary.
I'm not sure. Two bishops versus a rook and two pawns, I believe, Maurice.
Yes, it is two pawns. It's bad according to the engines for white, but it's not as obviously bad as you would want.
But God, those bishops are going to be hard to play against in Blitz.
It's true. It's true. And b4, does that allow
a
bishop takes b2?
Yes, bishop takes b2 on the board. Now those bishops are slicing into the position. Gary just has to make moves now. 18 seconds for him, 12 seconds for Fabi as they tick down.
And king g7.
And bishop d3, and
he's won a piece. But that past c pawn could be dangerous. And look at that, Fabi's starting to collect pawns. The game has changed dramatically. It's no longer an easy win.
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
Not at all. And now Gary has to figure out what to do as Fabi sees that he can certainly create problems for black.
He has.
And Gary looking a little shaky here as he's moving his rook, but Fabi is king coming into the position as well.
Absolutely.
And these pawns providing great counterplay.
That extra piece, the bishop on g2, is
now
not
the king
a
marching check, and the king could go forward, but that's going to create a perpetual check chance. So he's backed up in the position. How is Gary going to win this? He just played the move bishop to e2, allowing this capture with check.
Oh
and
my
now
gosh,
the pawn, he's got two connected past pawns.
Check.
He's got two connected past pawns. Gary with 7 seconds. Caruana with only 11 seconds.
7-11.
And now a sacrifice by Kasparov to create what looks like a drawn endgame.
That's
beautifully done. Wow. What a save. A draw again. Gary
look at that base.
He had that game.
God. Look at that base. We talked about internet man.
Oh my goodness.
And that is internet man number 2 of this.
Are we sure? Are we sure if the result was agreed draw?
It was agreed draw. Yes.
Wow. Gary felt like he let one get away here. He played beautifully up to that moment with e3, f3. He went after.
Because they're not yet done.
Actually, this is just a draw.
Exhausted. Fortress.
Yeah, this is a fortress Nakamura is in right now. It looks as though he cannot be breached. Everything about his position is ideal. The king cannot get in. The black king especially cannot get into this position, so he can virtually offer a draw, and it will be accepted. Matter of fact, his last move is attacking the pawn and forcing this to go back, forcing the king to go backwards, and now he's actually pushed Wesley's king backwards. He's going to pick off the b pawn in this position. Take a look at this, Nakamura. Will he be up a pawn? He just turned it all around. He just completely turned it around.
Unbelievable. What is this? Maurice, white was playing for a fortress position, and now white has the edge.
And it looks like it's not quite there because black can just do the opposition.
Keep the king
out. So it looks Wesley has found that as well. It looks like it should be a draw as long as his king can stay up. This is the moment. And now F3, looking for the win. F3, 11 seconds left, guys. They've got to blitz out moves, and he's forced the king back. And now he's just ditching his pawn on B3 as Wesley to get play on the other side, and there goes the pawn. How is he going to save this?
Oh, my goodness.
How's he going to save this? It looks like Naka has figured out a way to win the pawn, and now here comes the king. Wesley now just trying to survive. He still looks like there's drawing boundaries here for sure. They have to just play quickly.
But Hikaru Nakamura, from a worse position, has the upper hand. No question about that. Can he convert his one-pawn advantage?
Doesn't look like it's really possible. Bishop f5, trying to trade off this bishop.
But I think Wesley should get his king maybe to f5, no? Oh, with a king to f4.
F5.
Now it looks winning. It looks winning.
It's not
Bishop
easy.
F5
it's not,
and E4.
Oh, there it is. Oh, he's in trouble now, and he's got to think.
Yeah,
he's got to think as Bishop G8 is coming.
G8, exactly.
Bishop G8 is a key move, and now the king's going to march into F5, and Wesley
And
plays
E4.
Beautiful move. E4
Oh
on the board, and now winning.
Hikaru Nakamura. How did he win that?
How did he win it?
How did he win that game? Let's just go back to the
win.
critical moment right here. When Wesley played the move B5, B4, that was when things went south. If he had just left his pawn on B4, Hikaru could have done nothing in the position. Boy, it's way back. But it's right here.
Yes, right here. It was
that move B3, that was the key moment. If he hadn't played B3, it would have been a draw.
And the thing is, he cannot make any progress anyway. Even with B3, the king on B2 is so strong. He actually went for it. Let us point out, by the way, that game took for resignation 96 moves. They played 96 moves of chess in that one.
Right.
They're playing marathon games trying to get a win. What do you have to do to get a win? But Naka did what he had to do because he was in the cellar and now surging with another point. And we see here Fabiano Caruana at 3.5, as is Gary. Hikaru and Wesley trailing at 2.5.
Sticks that Gary Kasparov is calculating right now, but guess what? He's using a lot of time.
Burning a lot of clock, and it doesn't work. Even their knight f6 was strong. Knight f6 looked like...
And he's reached for his c4 knight, but he didn't touch
Actually,
it.
no, because a rook takes h7 mate in that other line.
Precisely.
He needs to play knight. He needs to play quickly now. He's got 141. He's still calculating lines. What did he play?
Okay, I got to refresh
He moved his
my
rook
board.
into the game. He moved his rook to d1, and now he's played it.
And he's
Clearly, he
playing
was
knight
thinking
f6.
about that move. Yes, he was definitely thinking about it, and now his piece is sitting on the f6 square, and the Indians like it. They say that it's an advantage, the same advantage he had before, pressing. Now, knight takes e5 being the #1 move for the Indian. Knight takes on e5 as being the only real move to keep the game going. Will Wesley find that move? Knight takes is, they're claiming, even forced for him.
Well,
Knight,
yeah, this rook d7 idea is just very nice.
Yeah,
very
D7,
powerful.
blowing up the king side.
d7, queen g5, king h8, queen 6, and you're incapable of defending h7. So
You always advise your students, whenever you're on the attack, make sure you invite everybody to the party. Gary first brought his rook to d1, very instructional, and Wesley has found his only defense to stay in the game. Knight e5, we're expecting bishop takes e4.
Well, first knight takes on e5 was the best sequence, and he found all amazing sequence just happened, by the way. And now knight takes. Was that all accurate?
Knight, it's all been played, and f6 is on the board. Now the question is this knight on e7 far? What? Whoa, there's queen f4 in the position, guys. Queen f4. Oh my goodness.
Actually, even stronger is what Gary just played. Knight to d6, dominating the board.
What a beautiful,
ooh,
the cavalry charge.
Gorgeous play, crushing position. The
By the
knight's
way,
an a4, just an anemic move being thrown out there. There's got to be some combination swirling right now.
Absolutely.
Well,
Don't
remember when
allow
Gary
knight
was
f7
us?
mate.
Remember when Gary was with us, he said that having the knights on d6 and e6 were worth 2 rooks.
Gary's down to 110, though, and b4 in that position, b4 creating a passed pawn at any point will be strong. Just create a passed pawn yourself. What is he supposed to do about b4, b5, start marching down the board?
He needs to, first he's made love by driving the knight back from g4 to h6. He made it with a gain of tempo, but has he squandered?
He found it, b4 on the board.
And we can also play bishop d4 and stick our bishop on c5.
This is crushing.
I love that idea.
This is crushing.
And Wesley had to stop, Jennifer, what you were just about to suggest. Bishop to d4, bishop c5 would have been positional overkill. That didn't happen.
Because Wesley played queen b6, so now bishop d4, queen takes d6.
Exactly.
So trying to get a sliver of counterplay. But
very quickly, this move, rook c4. I don't know if that was accurate. I would have preferred the move b4, b5.
Yeah, but the engine's saying this is crushing. This
really?
This is looking bad for
rook
Wesley
h4
because rook h4 and a sacrifice on h6 is coming fast. He needs to move his knight off of that square quickly because he's about to get mated, and he did not. He moved his queen back to d8. Queen back to d8.
And now knight c8.
How did he find that move so quick? That is the best move on the board, according to the engines. Gary just playing incredible chess on every move now.
Knight f5 has been played. Push the pawn, b5. Come on, Gary. Get
now queen to c2. He's just owning the board now with his
C2?
knight.
What is that? I love that queen defending the d6 knight.
He's just controlling the board.
He's played queen d3.
I'm not sure I like these.
Let me
I like queen d3. I like queen d3.
He's ready to play rook h4 now again.
Gary has been playing number 1 or 2 moves by the engine every single move. He is totally in control of this game right now. But the problem is he only has 37 seconds left on his clock.
Finally, b5.
Will he be able?
I've been bishop c3, bishop b4.
And he snaggled a pawn with queen a3.
Has he allowed? No, rook b5 doesn't work. f8 is hanging. Rook b5, knight b5, queen c4, queen f8.
We got some more moves on the board. Queen d5, trying to get some counterplay desperately. Rook c1, Gary.
And queen c5. That queen b. Yes, queen c5, posting up.
He's got his queen on b4. He opted out and played queen b4 in that position.
He played queen b4, not queen c5. I've got queen c5
No,
recorded.
he played queen to b4. His queen is sitting on b4 right now.
I see.
In the game, queen to b4. And it doesn't matter. He owns the board. Everything he did so far is right. He is completely controlling the chessboard. The b pawn about to run down. The knight on d6 is dominant. He gets it. He just has 33 seconds to prosecute this advantage. He has been playing dominating chess. It looked like he could mate on the other side, but he decided to own the other side of the board. And the way he's done it, he just played very practically, and now his b pawn is just a monster, and it's over. It's just a crushing position.
Taking on a2 doesn't change anything. That's the thing. That doesn't even get him much counterplay. It's just played bishop c3. You notice how all of the pieces are pretty much defended except for that rook on c1.
Exactly.
And just pushing forward with b6. Getting the other rook behind the pawn.
I'm not sure.
What just happened? Gary just blundered.
Oh, no.
Gary played the move b7 and hung his knight.
Overconfident.
Unbelievable blunder by Kasparov.
And
Wesley, didn't that happen twice to Wesley?
Against
same
Wesley,
opponent.
yeah. Gary playing a monster game, a beautiful, a flawless strategic victory in the offing. And look at this. After the move, rook b8, b7, dropping the knight on d6. What a tragic mistake for Gary Kasparov. Wow. And the other game.
Well, it harkens back to that early blunder that he made against Nakamura. Gary playing the best chess, but a few too many blunders.
That's
and that
Blitz,
might cost
though.
him this
That's
challenge.
Blitz. That's the problem with Blitz. While these two are at an equal ending, but White is pressing in this position.
I don't know. Hikaru looks pretty good. Hikaru looks pretty good here.
Well, I ripped off the c-pawn off the board, and he's looking to take the a-pawn as well after knight to e3, a4 already on the board, and now here comes the black king. Bishop check, chasing the king backwards. That king move didn't work out, but here comes the knight now. It doesn't look as though he has enough to win the game.
Why not?
He's won a piece. He's up a piece at the moment.
The d4 pawn is the problem.
And now up a piece is Nakamura. Can he win this position? And he's going after the c-pawn now. Can he trade knights? That's going to be his fantasy. Look at the knight and bishop. Pure. My goodness. I hope he knows how to checkmate with a bishop and a knight.
Trust
me. A-pawn goes off the board.
He knows. He knows.
With only 4 seconds on the clock?
No way, really?
He's only 4 seconds on the clock.
I think there's a checkmating pattern already coming up in the position. Knight c4 is the practical move, as played.
Well, the a6 pawn is going to drop now, and it looks like he's going to drop any second.
And there he goes. King b6 and get over there and take that.
He's got to move. He's got to find a move. His knight is on a1 now.
What?
Back out into the game. The knight is trapped, actually, on that side. It looks like he's decided to go find the knight by somehow bring his king back and take the knight on a1. How does it get out?
Good
king
point.
back, he's still going, and now king b2 looks like, oh no, he has to be careful. He has to be slightly careful about this ending because the opposite color, the wrong color bishop, dropping the bishop back. Nope, it's not going to work. Hiding his pieces away from Nakamura, and now it's over. But is the 5 minutes enough for him to contain their tenacity, their threats, their defense? it's proving to be difficult for him so far. And Nakamura with a 2-minute edge on you on the clock.
Woo, big time mismanagement errors by Gary in this first day of competition. I think there is still a lot of rust in his game, but you see what kind of player he was at his peak, and what phenomenal ideas and dynamic attacking moves he would make.
Great opening preparation as well.
Also, throw that one in the mix.
One of the problems is his positions are just so fascinating that it's like brutal to have to make a quick move, like a super quick move.
And by the way, the reason I was wondering, why the heck is Hikaru waiting on, thinking about the position? I see that there's an idea of Queen F6 setting up for a discover attack against the bishop on E3, and now a very nice reinforcing move by Hikaru, Queen E3, preventing any ideas of harassing the F-pawn. Question is, does that walk into the counterpunch F5 or not? Because this rook on E8 is in prime position.
Knight C5, incredible. He did it again. The Indian's first move, a straight sacrifice of a pawn. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and queen takes. Now the move, positional move, bishop to F8 is the suggested move. But how is he finding these moves? He now plays B4, chasing the knight away. Again, the dark squared bishop can reposition itself, and it's black with the initiative, forcing the knight backwards. Will he play the move bishop back to F8? He knows his dark square bishop is very strong. He's trying to figure out how to use it, but his time is ticking down. 46 seconds. Flying down now to 0. He's got to find a way to make quick moves, and he's played bishop to D7. It's a terrible situation for him now. He's playing well, but not quickly enough.
He's trying to play knight C6 in this position, I think. But he couldn't because
C6.
if queen with bishop D4 in play.
No, you're dreaming of bishop D4.
But now we can't because our bishop's on D7, and if we did it with our bishop on C8, you have queen takes C6. That knight on F2 is such a very nice defender, isn't it?
Important.
Guarding that diagonal.
And now White has taken over the game with the queen to C7. Black's initiative is sucked out of the position.
Yes.
He did not find the maneuver. Bishop back to F8. Now he is not getting anything. He's just not getting anything for his pawn sacrifice. F4 is coming. The pawn on C4 is going to hang. This is a bad position for Black suddenly. White has the game completely under control, and a queen trade is just fantastic now. Happy for Nakamura as he sees the queens come off the board. And Gary with only 15 seconds left, guys. This is going to be a bad result for Kasparov fans.
I agree, Maurice. And what a comeback for Hikaru Nakamura. Was it only a moment ago that he was in the cellar? And now, if he wins this game, and he's in prime position to win this game, he'll be in first.
He'll be tied with whoever wins the other game.
And Wesley So is dominating that other game right now against Fabiano Caruana. Wesley So up in exchange, looking to win this game as he's going after those weak pawns, and Caruana has to defend for his life as Wesley, with plenty of time on his clock. Look at the time disparity, guys. Beautiful. Unreal. Up in exchange, weak pawns everywhere. He's going to start picking off the munchies, and Caruana just in trouble. These two players, Caruana and Kasparov, were leading the tournament a couple of rounds ago. Now suddenly they're going to be the cellar dwellers as Nakamura and Wesley So have surged back looking to get 2 wins. Round's not over yet, but still terrible situation for the former leaders a couple of rounds ago. And we can switch back. We see Hikaru still hasn't moved.
What?
Hikaru still hasn't moved. We've talked all this time, and Hikaru still has not moved. He's now under a minute after trading queens. How did this happen?
But look, Gary, 15 seconds. 15 seconds.
But Hikaru didn't move in all that time. He had like a 2-minute advantage, and now he's finally played F4.
He's worried about the C3.
And quickly, instantly, C3 was Gary Kasparov. And isn't there a knight F1 check? Gary didn't do it. It was bishop B5 and takes on B2. Has Hikaru allowed his opponent back into the game with these tactical shots?
Yes, he has. Absolutely has. Gary needs to find moves, though. King to H1, and his clock is ticking down.
And Gary looks like he's enjoying his position.
Got after G6, we have knight D2 played by Gary.
That was not the best move.
No,
and D7, rook D8, rook B2, bishop B2.
Oh my goodness.
Now they're getting up, and look at this, the time going down
Gary
so fast.
has won an exchange, but that pawn on d7 is huge.
Yeah, so but King F8 ready to meet with King E7.
And, oh, by the way, my gosh, there's another B-pawn for Gary in the position.
Right.
Yes, Black is winning, but can he do it? Can Kasparov?
Coming to E5, trying to get a counterplay with Knight C6.
He's got to hurry.
And
look at Gary hesitating
10 seconds left. He's got to find the moves.
Hesitating.
But he's
too much hesitation.
He's played King E7. Why can't we play Knight
C6? King
because
D6
of King
check.
D6, Knight D8, and King C7. Yeah,
right.
That holds on to everything.
Oh, my goodness. It is tense.
Knight
and the king is
D3
now on
instead.
D6, chasing
oh my
that
goodness.
rook. And not this time, got 8 seconds now. And now rook to C4.
Oh my goodness.
The knight just dropped back to F6. Now he can play knight to C6. He has done so, and he's gotten his exchange back. But Gary's got to move. Threatening a knight on D3.
Not taking it back right away.
And now
8 seconds to 7 seconds.
Kasparov blundered again. He couldn't take on D3 because of the fork. He could not take. He blundered again. And now it's just a time situation. Rook C6 driving the king back and now moving the king over. And Kasparov is lost. Kasparov is now down a piece.
But
he's trying to make his B-pawn work, but he's going to lose that too.
Oh my goodness.
That's right. He's going to get his. He is going to get his pawn to B2. No, instead he's taking on H2.
Our board has frozen here because the pieces were knocked over.
That's right.
Yes, but we have the board on there. We see Kasparov going down again.
Very disappointed, Gary Kasparov. Can't believe what has happened to him in this cycle of.
And the other game over as well. Did Wesley end up winning that game as we expected?
Wesley won that game.
Wesley in clear. No,
tied
with Naka. Tied with Naka. If that game was a draw, it's amazing. Wesley could have been in clear first.
Neither do you want to play G5. And no question, Jennifer, Queen D2, castles long is definitely on White's agenda because castling short is impossible. In
the other game, there's a huge sacrifice that he can play Nakamura in this position that would have made the game just completely explode as Knight D4 has been played on that board. In this position, and he played it. He played Knight takes C5 and took on C3. So Knight takes pawn on C5. He's taken on C3. Pawn takes, bishop takes C3. Now bishop takes A6 was played, and the rook on A1 is indeed hanging and being given as best in this position. This game just suddenly exploded, and it's still supposed to be just okay. The rook on E1, of course, is hanging as well, so he's got to take one of them at some point.
We're expecting bishop A1, rook A1, queen A7. Yes, Maurice?
And he has taken, and now that is exactly right. That has happened. Bishop back, and now queen C5. We have a very unbalanced position appearing on the board. A bishop and a knight for a rook and 2 pawns.
And Knight E5 play. White needs to try to attack. Those minor pieces are better in the middle game. We don't want to trade queens. We don't want an endgame. We need to get some kind of attack in. And Queen C2 nibbling on Nakamura's king side.
Yeah, and I remember a game that Nakamura lost to Elianov in this exact situation where it was a rook and 2 pawns against 2 minor pieces. The minor pieces took Hikaru down with his move queen c2. There's a double threat against this to change places, bishop and queen, and bishop e4 is a nice start.
Let's go back to the position because c4 wasn't played. So does Black have any better ideas here? Trying to move the queen away.
Don't think about playing f6. There is a big, massive fork in the position.
I want to move my queen, so I'm attacking your bishop, so you don't have time for queen e2, so I can take on e4.
Gotcha.
That's what I'd like to do. So I just like to move my queen somewhere. But what's a good square?
Right.
Queen,
where do you want to go?
None of them look particularly appealing. He has played one. He's played queen e7. So idea being, but the question, I think he's played queen to e7, and now the question is,
yes.
Is there? And queen e7, bishop
g2 has been played. So Hikaru, realizing that bishop should not have been left on the b1 diagonal, forced the bishop into a passive square g2.
Yeah, but that doesn't look like good news. I mean,
well, hold on. F5. F5 is begging to be played, and to try to break up the team that's sitting on E6, D5, and C4.
And it doesn't look like good news for Wesley. I mean,
well, hold on. F5. F5 is begging to be played, and results possible still.
And Wesley's stopping to think that time is ticking down. So almost even with Hikaru. And this position, very complex one. You could see this in an over-the-board game for sure. But Wesley now pausing for too long before finally playing rook to c1, finally moving to keep a head on the clock after he played this move. He did not play f5, played rook to c1 right now. And this other game is interesting, but let's stay with this one. See, this is a fight for first. Bishop back to f1.
Well, he might be able to rearrange his bishop to d3 and then play queen d2 or queen d1.
Yeah, it's exactly what he's thinking. He's thinking about putting the queen on d1, putting the bishop on d3, locking that pawn, you know.
That's right, and that's what happened. Played it. So rook b2 and queen d1. Now,
man,
does
that
not have a way.
Looks dangerous, though.
It's c-pawn, but look at queen h5 check.
There's also counterplay with queen c5 in the game, but instead c2.
Wait, C2?
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 No way.
That allows the attack straight.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
that allows
that's horrible.
Bishop D3.
That's a horrible idea by Hikaru.
Is he going to play G6 to stop this attack?
I think Bishop D3, and I really like Wesley's position.
But what happens? Queen H5 and then King over Bishop D3, G6. What do you do on G6? You're going to sack on? Yeah, you could.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Queen H5. He's done the first move, and he's done the second move. Both moves on the board. And now G6. G6.
Are there perks here?
Is he going to? What? No, White is trying to win this.
For
White
sure.
is trying to win.
Is there emergency exits?
Well, first of all, I think simply Queen H4. I want
no, Knight G6
H4.
now, guys. Come on, take that and go.
Well, Queen G4, we also have some counterplay of our own. We might be able to play Rook B1 in these positions.
I beg your pardon.
And then after a bunch of captures, we have Rook C1 at the end.
Say that again.
Oh, I was saying after Queen G4.
Yeah.
I was thinking we could play Rook B1.
Oh yeah, and my king is on the first rank.
Right.
So I got to play king to.
Ooh, he sacrificed with the bishop. He sacrificed with the bishop. Now he's got to keep an eye on that B1 square constantly.
Definitely. I think he needs to get in king G2 if he's playing for the win.
And King F8 played, so if only we could trade places with our knight and our queen.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
So we were teaching yesterday in all-girls school, and somebody tried to uncastle.
I like that.
Castling and uncastling.
Rook B1 is now been stopped, but here comes another pawn with D3, and there goes the H pawn.
H-pawn, yeah.
There goes the H pawn.
Yeah, baby.
H4,
For Black is actually slightly frozen because he can't move his rook to B1. Can't make anything happen with a C2 pawn. It feels like White can always perpet at will, and so he's challenging Nakamura to find a move right now, and Wesley's ahead on the clock as well.
And by the way, if the black queen tries to get in the game, don't leave that E6 pawn hanging. That's an important shield.
Naka realizing that he has to deal with this threat, and he found the best move, queen to E8. Queen to E8, trying to trade off the most important attacking piece and bringing his rook potentially to the defense as well on the 7th rank.
Well, a trade of queens is death to White.
Okay, well, of course I will play queen F6 check. You'll play king G8, and of course I'll continue with Wesley's plan.
Right.
You're saying, of course, why is he thinking so long? 35 seconds
untouchable because of queen D8.
Yes, exactly. I'm trying to bait you.
What is he looking for? He was up 20 seconds on the clock, and now he's dropped his queen back.
That's a very surprising move. I thought it was important that Wesley keep the initiative with his queen on F6. Queen
by
E4.
the way, in the other game, Kasparov is up in exchange.
He's gone back here to G6. And he's repeating moves, trying to, well, you don't gain time in the clock because it's a delay, not an increment.
By the way, 20 seconds each.
Kasparov up an exchange in the other game and looking to press on with Fabiano, only 10 seconds. And we see a draw here.
And the players, it's got Gary Kasparov, an exchange up against U.S. champion Fabiano Caruana. And
exchange for no pawn.
Oh my gosh, why did he play A4? He could have frozen Black's play. He could have frozen the knight on F6 with the move Rook F3. He didn't do it. Again, time the critical factor here.
But White so well placed with the passed pawn. Will he be able to do it as he's quickly moving both sides, quickly moving there? 6 seconds left for Fabi in this position.
Sorry, guys. He can play Bishop D5 to Bishop D5, Bishop G2, releasing his rook from the defense of the H3 pawn, And Gary has blundered his H3 pawn. He
has
didn't have
indeed.
to allow this at all.
He's still
Fabiano's
better,
getting
according to the
counterplayed.
engines. He's still
Fabiano's
better, but
getting
he's just not staying. He's just staying ahead on the clock just enough.
And
can't hesitate.
very nice
Can't
move by
hesitate.
Fabiano. He's climbed his way right back into this game. All results possible.
And Gary's got to find a
Gary is
move.
looking tentative. He's got 7 seconds left.
He's got to go rook e8, b8, and get behind that pawn and take that b6 pawn. Instead, he's moved his king over to the
He's
defense
gotten
of
the
the
B
c3
pawn. He has
pawn.
actually gotten the B pawn, but now Caruana with 3 connected passers. Count
Oh,
those
my
3.
goodness.
And now an offer of a trade of rooks, which must be accepted, as we see there on the board.
Attacking the bishop. Fabi getting...
But bishop d5, crucial.
Great move.
On, oh,
Look at this. They're
really,
both
really
playing
nice.
With just 6 seconds on the clock.
That bishop on d5, controlling the h pawn.
That's right.
There
stopping
goes
the
that pawn.
bishop from
And
moving.
oh my goodness.
He's got to play bishop d6
I think
at
it's
97,
over,
it
guys.
looks like.
I mean, this is a
Oop,
winning
and there goes
position.
the pawn, a winning position for Gary. And now
But
there
can
goes a
he
piece. He's got to
execute?
take it. Gary's up. Will those
Take
pawns go
F7.
anywhere? No way.
No way.
No way those pawns are going to survive.
Gary's
Can't
playing
be
beautiful
right.
games.
Knight back,
Wow.
and now pinning the knight. Pawn up. He stopped that guy from going forward. Can he get anything? And now he sacrificed Gary
And there
Kasparov.
he goes.
Winning the game and sending the craziest day so far because it was up and then down and then back up again. Hikaru, you seem to be doing all right, and all of a sudden you had a little rough patch in the middle, and we were wondering what's going on. What did you need to do to get back in this tournament?
Well, I think first of all, my play was not very good today. I know it was up and down. I found a way to win some games, but the positions I had today, they were not inspiring. I think in the middle of the tournament, what happens? I mean, okay, the first game against Fabiano, I was fine, maybe a little bit worse. Then I was drawing, and I just saw the wrong piece on f8, and then I blundered, and I should have lost that. And then I found a way to win in the scramble. Okay, the second game, well, I mean, we all know what happened in that one. I mean, with a certain move. I mean, but have to give Gary the benefit of the doubt. I mean, okay, it's a serious event, but
Well, tell us, why did you allow him to make this night move and then let go and then come back? I mean, by the rules, although to be fair, Yasser thought that he was allowed to let go. We argued here on the set, and I said, look, if you let it go, it's a completed move. Why did you allow that to happen?
Well, I mean, it's Gary after all. First off, and secondly, I mean, maybe I'm not treating this event as seriously as he is. I mean, I feel like if I did that, maybe it wouldn't go both ways. But I mean, okay, I was trying to be nice and give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you hate to see a game decided on a blunder like that. So yeah, that's why. And all right, I mean, after that, I kind of. Yeah, I played a bad game against Wesley, lost that, and then it just cascaded downhill in a hurry against Fabiano, and then Gary. I mean, I just kind of didn't play well. But yeah, I kind of hung in there, and yeah, I guess I beat Fabiano, and then I beat Gary. I mean, okay, the third game against Gary was quite ridiculous because I played a very good game. I think just winning on the board, on the clock, and then I just kind of lost my mind.
Like 2 minutes.
I just lost my mind, and I messed the whole thing up, and probably should have lost that. But yeah, Gary made the last blunder, and so I won that. And last round, I mean, I drew with Wesley, so it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't say it's good or it's bad, but considering where I was, I mean, I certainly think I can do better tomorrow.
I don't think too many people are satisfied today with the result, as everybody's making mistakes that are big for them. Tell me, what does it feel like playing Kasparov Blitz in a competition? We haven't seen him play since Nigel Short last year, but he doesn't play so much. But he looks like he's putting together some moves.
Yeah, I mean, he's still quite strong. And certainly in Blitz, I mean, if he gets his position out of the opening, I mean, he's still extremely dangerous. So I don't find it that surprising. I mean, I guess the only thing for me is actually I haven't been feeling the intensity the way that I was expecting from him. I kind of was expecting something a bit more. So I don't know. That's the only thing that I was surprised by, because I was expecting more to be feeling more of the energy, the passion, all that stuff that goes into it. But nevertheless, I mean, still, Gary's playing well. He's still Gary, of course. And if you look at some of the older players, I mean, even Vichy, he's what, 4 or 5 years younger than Gary, and he's still keeping it together. So for me, it's not surprising at all that Gary's playing the way he is. And I think, I mean, for Gary, probably the hardest part is I don't think he's played in tournaments like the World Blitz. Okay, I think he played in St. John a long time ago, maybe 90, 91, around there. But like one of the things with playing a lot of Blitz games in a row is, especially when you're playing top players, is you make these blunders and you have these streaks, these up and downs, and it's very important to stop the bleeding as quickly as possible. I mean, that's what I've learned from playing these Blitz events, and I think if Gary can do that, do that tomorrow especially. Like, you know, if he hangs a night, hangs something, I mean, and loses, if he can keep it together and like keep it at one game, he's going to have good chances.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, sharing those thoughts, and we hope to see some more spectacular chess and your quality chess tomorrow.
Well, I think we'll all play better tomorrow.
Hikaru, if I could draw your attention to your screen for a second, because we just like to replay that moment for you and get your thoughts, as Gary Kasparov did make this move night before and reached to press the clock. As you'll see right there, he reached to press the clock and then brought his hand back.
Well, you kind of smirked there because you knew the rule in this moment.
And then he played knight f4. But here you see it in more kind of a slow motion where he's got, and look, he nearly pressed his clock, so his hand clearly left the piece. But you didn't claim. You just gave him the benefit of the doubt. You weren't watching.
No. I mean, I knew he did it, but I mean, I felt that it's not in the spirit of the event. I mean, if this was a serious competition, I would have done something different. But, you know, I mean, maybe that's me being a little bit too nice, but I would hate to see a game decided like that. I mean, he's still Gary, and that's, you know, it's what I did, and that's, you know, that's how it goes.
Too nice Nakamura.
Too nice Nakamura in first place.
Is that nickname going to stick?
Yeah.
Much respect for that. Thank you so much. Enjoy the evening. 13th world champion Gary Kasparov, who has been retired now for over 11 years. Well, 11 years exactly. And Gary, this was you back in the element, playing Blitz. Certainly not like last year. You had games against Nigel Short, but these guys were a step up. What did it feel like being in the ring today?
Oh, I can tell you, I don't blunder cheap. Yeah, it's look, having 50% after blundering 3 pieces, 3 knights,
yes,
in three winning positions.
You were it's quite good positions, indeed. Great position.
Okay. So it's the nearly winning. I mean, anything can happen in Blitz. Yeah, it's and also I was quite upset, you know, just missing a win against Caruana. I played a great game with black pieces. Yeah, so. Look, you know, I'm rusty, so it's definitely, you know, I'm fighting players that are, you know, way ahead of Anatoly or Nigel. Those are the only 2 events that I had, you know, in the last 10 years. But, you know, I think I'm quite pleased, you know, with what I did, because, you know, I had them on the ropes. So just, you know, blundering 3 nights, it's just, you know, it's a lot. And this is the games we saw, especially the second one we saw. I mean, it was such a bad, you know, moment, because I played a great game. So I spent a lot of time calculating knight f6 check instead of rook d1. Again, I don't know what I couldn't figure it out whether it works, but after rook d1 a5, knight f6 works for sure, because then I saw that I can, you know, take on a queen c3, you know, and it's e5, knight takes e5, and it's winning because my rook eventually controls d4 square. So I was very proud that I calculated such a great combination. Again, maybe I made it's a mistake, but it's you know. But then I got position which was technical. I had my knight on d6, and it's ironically I blundered this knight.
Right, a beautiful knight on d6.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's actually, you know, playing b7 because there's a move earlier. b7, and he couldn't take on d6 because then I take on bishop b4, winning, you know, this is the piece. Otherwise, bishop takes c5 as a threat, and then rook c8, and I'm just again winning.
So you have lots of opportunities in this game.
Yeah, but it's just. Yeah, but
is it the time? Is it the time though? Is it because you seem to also be spending a lot of time on the clock? Your time was ticking down. You'd have less than a minute in dominating positions, but that was seeming to cost you as you had to pick up the pace, trying to make sure you found the win. Yes,
it's also a lot of pressure because, you know, I'm just getting tired. So this is, again, it's nine games, and it's each game is kind of a show, and I fought in all games, you know, missing chances. Obviously, my opponents also, you know, could complain, but again, I missed big, and it's also pity with Hikaru the second game. You know, I because the gap between rounds is so short. So I couldn't recover after this blunder with Wesley just in the previous round. So and I was playing first few minutes.
And we see your reaction here.
Yeah,
in the game, you were quite shocked when it happened.
No. First few minutes I played poorly, but then actually, having about 20 seconds, I played a great game. I had him on the ropes, he missed C3, and and it was winning, just anything. So I think the simplest was at one point Rook C5 and resign. So instead of King S7, Rook C5, he resigns because, I exchange rooks, otherwise mate on C1, and I'd have extra exchange, and that would be a very different tournament.
Tell us about this moment with Hikaru when you let go of the piece.
I wasn't sure whether I guess it is. No, I looked at the arbiter. So if it's probably I just I don't know. It's very difficult when you play Blitz to say whether your hand was off or not.
Well, but we have it on camera, so it's easy.
No.
But for you yourself, you're saying.
No, I didn't know. That's why I looked at Hikaru. I looked at the referee. So they said nothing. So it's the.
So if they had claimed it and it would have just been the very next game. It would have been.
Yeah, of course I would resign. Yes, this is because that would be another night. But maybe if I blundered that night, I would save other nights.
Indeed.
Actually, I found the night before a very, very nice positional draw. I mean, just it's this with Rook A8, Rook A8. It was not the best game. Hikaru actually played very well. So it was before. I mean, I was quite upset that I let him play before. So probably I had to play A5 first.
Again, despite blundering 3 nights in the competition so far, you're only a half a point out of first. How do you feel playing against these players? These are top 10 players in the world. We're not just talking about anybody. You're playing 3 of the top 10 players in the world. Does it, compared to your heyday, how do you feel right now playing against, because they're like the Michael Jordan of chess, people would compare it, playing against Steph Curry or LeBron James, some of the finest players we have now. How does it feel back in the ring with these top players?
Look, I think it's a good show, and I think St. Louis deserves, just as a capital of the world, just to have the best chess shows on the planet. So, and I was, very happy as to when this idea, was floating around, and I thought, okay, look, I have nothing to lose. So again, it's just, okay, I can lose many games, I can blunder many nights, yes, but I enjoy myself. So it seems that I'm competing. So again, it's not, total dominance as some predicted. It's not total disaster as others predicted. So I'm just, I'm on a solid 50%, with few pieces blundered in the 9th round. So let's see what happens tomorrow. So I have probably better feelings now. But obviously, these guys, they are much better trained, to play longer events. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
We will see. Thank you so much for your time with us and for entertaining us still with your great play. And let's hope you keep on to those nights tomorrow. Gary Kasparov, indeed, one of the great players. Yes.
Gary, I can't help but remark, I mean, I think you're stealing the show, quite frankly. I really do. I think your games, in particular, have been the most dynamic of any of the 4 players. Forget about your blundering your knights. But how do you do that with these strong players, creating the positions that are the most interesting on the board and getting chances in all the games? I mean, it's almost a kind of magic. These are really, really the elite players of the world, and you're getting great dynamic positions, and we find ourselves absorbed by your game.
And your opening play, by the way, you're playing principled openings every time. There's no avoiding.
Principle, look, I obviously I try to avoid Berlin because these guys they play Berlin day and night. So I think 50% of the games in top tournaments now is Berlin. So I thought it wouldn't make any sense for me to compete with them in the positions that they know, from top to the bottom. So I thought that playing, something, refreshing, something more open, creating crisis at early stage, would be challenging for them. And actually, it worked.
Absolutely did work. Getting great positions, playing well. We hope to see you clean up those mistakes and entertain us again.